beautiful day. I'm Pat Barkman, and I'd like to explain some of the wildlife that's been evident in the garden in the last few hours. One is the turtle eggs that are over here. And I think what happened is that the turtle, the snapping turtle, came up from the lake and dug a hole and deposited its eggs. Then the raccoon came along, dug up the hole, and left the eggshells, which are now disintegrating, but they're rubbery and you could see them all over here. This is where the hole was. So here's the outside of the eggshell. So the raccoon had himself a nice meal. He also had a nice meal down at the pond where you could see that the waters were muddy and he ate the fish that were there. So another thing that I want to point out is that the fox came and left a deposit. He likes to leave a deposit on the rock, probably because foliage doesn't get in the way. So, and the pointy end is always the last out, so you can tell he was going that way. But he usually leaves a deposit somewhere on the rock here. I'd like also to point out the wildflowers that are growing right over here in the meadow that I've left. And if you, it'll be against the sun, but you can see that there's clover, which is enriching the ground with nitrogen, some asters, some black-eyed Susans, some little pink flowers that I don't know the name of, but they'll open and they're like a carnation. So we have quite a few flowers in here which the birds like. You can see the goldfinch on them occasionally, and it gives some variety to the garden. Now let's go over here. You'll see some unwanted wildlife. It's the tent caterpillar that's been on the invasive honeysuckle in the neighbor's garden. And what I'll do is I'll take this off and crush it under my feet, because you can, if you come in close, you can see that there's hundreds of little tent caterpillars wandering around in there, and I'll take them over to a flat surface and squish them. There's some that are too high in the apple tree that I'll let the birds take care of. So this is the second brood of the song sparrow who's been singing away in the garden, and I didn't see the first brood being done, but she's obviously fledged them and she's sitting on the nest, so we'll exit quietly and let her come back. A little hint about composting is that if you put a little soil back into your kitchen bucket or your kitchen plastic bag that you have beside the sink, then the soil makes the refuge that you have in there, the kitchen scraps, smell nice. And you don't have to have post-traumatic stress syndrome when you take out the compost heap. Now when I've established my compost heap far away from the house, so I can put in things like fish skins, and I've even put in some scraps from meat sometimes. You don't want to do too much of that, but it does attract wild animals, and so you want to stir that in fast so that the wild animals don't get your meat. Last year, these were covered with honeybees. Now, either the honeybees haven't discovered it this year, or the beehive has not survived. Again, I want to stress that the neonics and the tick sprays have devastated our pollinator population. And it's so important to have those pollinators. If we don't have our pollinators, we don't have our plant life, because in order for the seed to develop in a plant, you have to have something come along and pollinate. If you don't have that, the seed doesn't develop, unless it's a wind-pollinated plant. I'm Pat Barkman. I hope you've enjoyed watching. If you'd like to subscribe, that will be wonderful. I'd love to have subscribers, and I'd love to have your comments. Thanks for watching.